I'm impressed. You folks have stayed by, I don't know, has anybody counted the many hours we have been together? Oh, it's so good of you. I want to thank you for allowing us to come to Perth. This has been an exciting time for both my sister-in-law, Bonnie, and myself. And tomorrow we will be heading back to Sydney for the night and then heading home. So again, thank you so much. Well, I've saved kind of the most fun till last to talk about marriage and how do you put it all together. And many of actually the things that I'm going to say, especially about feeling valuable about who you are and making others feel valuable, can also be for children. But here we're going to put it in the marriage context. First of all, I think it's fun to talk about is the thing that men want most in a wife, and what's the thing that a wife wants most in her husband? Actually, many people say it's appreciation. They both need appreciation. But a fellow by the name of Willard Farley, who counseled many, many couples, made a list of men's needs versus women's needs. So here we go. Men, what's the top thing on your list in terms of a need from your wife? You're not going to tell me. Respect. Okay, that's of respecting them for who they are. But the interesting thing that is so fun is that where do you think on the first 5 of the top needs of women, if sexual fulfillment is the top one for men, where do you think it is on the top list for women? The top 5. Which position do you think it would have? It's not on the list. Sorry. I could tell when David put up 5 fingers, he was close. But anyway, yeah, that's just amazing to many couples to think, how could we be so different on the number one need of men versus the number one need of women? Now, what would you think the number one need for women would be? If it's not sexual fulfillment, it would affection, just to be held. That is so important. They want affection. They want romance. They want fun things that kind of fill their heart. And as I was actually writing about the importance of romance in a woman's life, I came across a book that Shante Feldman wrote. And she talked about the romance that a woman needs in her heart, the sense of affection, the sense of just knowing somebody is so deeply in love with her. And she likened it to God loving us and giving us little signs of how much he loves us. She called it romancing us in the sunset. Did anybody see the sunset last night? It was absolutely beautiful, this orange sky. And she said, every time you see a piece of beauty in this world, women, you need to think about that's what your Savior is giving you. A person in the world who put this sense of needing the romance into your heart giving you that sense of romance in the beauty of what he has put in this world. But yes, we are different when it comes to our needs. The second one is also very interesting. The second need for men to have in their wife, so Willard Farley says, the second need is they want a recreational companion. This is not even on the list for women either. That's a recreational companion? No, but this is how it happens, okay? She sees this good-looking guy jogging by her apartment every morning at about 6 a.m. She finally makes herself get up. She has bought these jogging shoes, and she goes out at about 5 till 6, and she is slowly sitting out there on the steps of her apartment, watching for this hunk of gorgeous masculinity to come jogging by. Well, she looks pretty good, and he notices, and he stops and says, do you jog? Oh, yes, she says, I love to jog. Oh, he says, that would be very nice. I would love to jog with somebody at 6 o'clock every morning. You want to go jogging with me? Oh, yes, she says, that would be just amazing if we could jog together. She finishes putting on her jogging shoes, and they head off. Well, he cannot believe he has found someone so good-looking that also likes to jog. And so then he asks her after a couple of weeks, we're getting together to watch, do you have the Super Bowl in this country? You don't have a Super Bowl. What do you have? IFL. Whatever. We're going back to the Super Bowl. Okay, I know when that comes. Okay. Anyway, he says, the Super Bowl's coming up. We're going to have a little party, and I wondered if you'd like to come and watch football. And she says, oh, yes, I would love to come and watch football. She doesn't know the first game or the first thing about football, but she goes to the Super Bowl party, and he is so pleased. Imagine finding a girl who's lovely to look at and likes to jog and loves football. And then he gets up his courage after a couple of weeks, and he says, do you like to go fishing? Oh, of course, she says. My dad used to take me fishing, and I just love to go fishing. And so he says, well, I would love to go next week. I've got, the weekend off. Will you go? Do you want to go with me? Oh, of course, I would love to go with you. Now, he is falling in love because she is the ideal recreational companion. We'll go fishing, watch football, jog. Well, she is falling in love because he's a pretty good-looking guy, and he's nice to her, and oh my goodness, they do have good conversations too. And so before you know it, he has proposed, they've set the wedding date, and they go off on their honeymoon. Now, the first day of the honeymoon, he wakes up early, about 6 o'clock, and he says, sweetheart, come, put on your jogging shoes, let's go jogging. And she wakes up and says, jogging? I hate jogging. And he has just lost his recreational companion. So often, once we get married, we quit doing fun things together with our husbands. That's a terrible fault of women. They get busy washing the dishes and thinking they have to be washed before you go out and do anything or play golf or whatever the guy likes to do. And, honey, you just go ahead. And you know what we lose immediately? We lose a big chunk of time that our husbands would give to us because we are not willing to be their recreational companion. Now, he doesn't need you to be better than he is. He doesn't even need you to be as good as he is. In fact, he would just as soon be better than you. But he needs you to go out and play with him in all of his sports and activities that he loves. Now, if his number 2 need is for a wife to be a recreational companion to him, what do you think her need is? Number 2. She wants someone to listen to her. It's called communication, but she really just needs someone to listen to her. She wants someone to share emotions and ideas and just to talk, to walk, to talk. Well, that sometimes comes hard for a man. I remember when Jan and I first got married, I read the little book about marriage, and it said that men sometimes have a very hard time opening up emotionally, especially about bad things that have happened to them, to their wives, because they feel that if they would share something negative, they wouldn't look as good in the eyes of the wife because something bad has happened or he's had a bad thought or whatever else. Well, she wants to know everything about you, plus. And yet sometimes men, especially in terms of emotions, it's very hard to share those negative things that might come to a guy's head. And I looked at my new husband and saying, "Sweetheart, you're not like that, are you?" And he hesitated for a moment and said, "Well, yeah, I'm like that." And so often we're surprised to find out that the guy that we've fallen in love with may not be this person who's really open in sharing the emotional things that happen to him. Bad things may happen at the job. In fact, a story that a woman told me was of her husband, the dentist. They were planning to take quite an extensive trip overseas that next summer vacation, and he became fairly distant about 3 or 4 months before they were to leave, and she wondered what was going wrong, but he didn't say anything, and she asked, "Honey, is it me?" "Oh, no, honey, no. I'm just going through this thing, and I got to get through it, and that's." But he wouldn't say what, and it got worse and worse. He finally started to sleep in the den instead of the bedroom because he was so upset with what was happening. She thought he was having an affair. She said right to his face, "Okay, I can take it. I just can't stand the silence anymore. Tell me what's happening in your life." And he began to cry. And then he opened up. "Well, sweetheart, the dental practice that I've just started isn't going as well as I hoped. And I don't think we'll have enough money to go on that trip this summer." And she said, "Oh, okay, what else?" "Well, that's all. That it's just not going the way I thought." She said, "Okay, but are you having an affair?" "No, I'm not having an affair. I just can't make this practice do as my projections were." And she said, nuts, I don't care about the money, I just want you, and I don't care about going on the trip. I just want you, and if I can help you in some way because the financial burden is so strong, I want to be able to help, but I don't want you to just push me out of your life because you think I can't handle something that's happening to you. Women like to communicate. They need to know what's happening in their husbands' lives, even though sometimes it's really hard for men to open up, especially when they're having some negative feelings about who they are, about what they're doing, and they're thinking of crazy things like changing careers and things like that. That can be really scary to a man, and he often will not share everything right at first with his wife. But if he doesn't, their relationship's going to go downhill. Okay, the third thing that men want in a spouse is an attractive spouse. Is attractive spouse any place on the woman's list? No. But men see, and their whole bodies respond to what they see, and they love to have their wives look attractive. When they get up in the morning, look attractive. When he comes home from work, look attractive. They enjoy having a wife who is attractive. That means, because it's not that important to us, hey, we got to put a little extra into our lives. Make sure that we do look attractive, and to our husbands, sometimes a little suggestive. That's what marriage is all about. Okay? Now, she wants the number 3 thing on her list. She just wants him to be honest and open. Honest and open. Don't keep things from her. She can tell when something's going wrong. Just be honest and open. Now, the fourth one is very interesting, very different again on men's versus women's lists. The fourth thing for a man is he needs a wife who is a domestic support. Do you know what that means, women? It means it's sure nice to smell the bread baking when he comes home from work, or have a nice meal on the table, or the house clean. And she needs financial support. Even if she's earning more than her husband, it's really important for her to know that he's not sleeping on the couch all day long and watching TV. That he's out there, he's industrious, he's doing something important for others. This is extremely important to her. That doesn't mean that he cannot give domestic support himself. That does not mean that she can't have an amazing job and maybe earning more than he is. That doesn't matter. But women like to know their husbands are doing well. They don't need to earn more than she does. It just may mean they took different courses in college that pushed them in different directions with different pay scales. I know families that have done amazingly well. He's a truck driver. She has her PhD in food research and nutrition analysis and all those kinds of things, and writing textbooks. Doesn't matter. They have all these other things going for them, and because they respect each other's choice of career, it doesn't matter who's earning the most, but they're both out there giving their all to a job or earning money. The fifth thing on his list is admiration. And I think we could put respect there too if we didn't put it in the very top, because we know women need love and men need respect. That's very obvious in Scripture, at least. And so we have men needs admiration. They need to know that their wives think they are amazing, that they are smart, that they are good looking, that they are physically fit, that they, and once in a while it takes a lie or two to get that across. But, I'm teasing, But we need to see the good things in our husbands, is basically what I'm saying. We don't have to dwell on the negative things, but they do need respect, they need admiration, and this is really important. But what does she need from her husband? Number 5. She needs family commitment. She needs to know that he is absolutely 150%, if that were possible, committed to their family, would do anything, would die for the family, would do anything for the family. So those are the major needs. I love when I talk to families about marriage, I love to talk about the concept that we are like banks. And the more deposits you make in to your wife's bank, those are the good things that you say, the positive things you say, versus the withdrawals, the negative things that you might say or do. The more you put into her bank account, the more the love will grow. And the same with the wife putting it into her husband's bank account. You will fall in love with the person that you are putting the most deposits into their bank account. And if you were in a job situation and you're working with someone, some fellow, and you just happen, because of the working situation, to see that this guy is doing a lot of things right, and you're kind of hoping for a raise anyway, and so you compliment the person and you thank the person. You are, unbeknownst to yourself, putting deposits into his bank account. And if you're not putting more deposits into your husband's bank account, you will find your emotions turning from your husband to the person that you are putting more deposits into their bank account. So it works both ways. Watch where you're putting your deposits. Make sure that your wife's bank account is full to overflowing with the deposits you're making, because you will automatically say to someone else who does a good thing on the job, hey, that was great, and you will be putting a deposit there. But if you keep your wife's bank account absolutely full, it will not take your emotions away from your wife. It's only when somebody else gets more deposits made into their bank account. Okay? Anyway, here we go. So affirm, appreciate, compliment, and praise, listen, be a helpmate. Ask every morning, honey, what do you need from me today? And if she says something crazy, do what she says, or what he says. Meet those needs of each other, and obviously show respect. I think it's very interesting when we look at this thing called respect that in Ephesians, the Bible tells us, or when it's beginning to tell the roles of husbands and wives, it says to wives to do what? Wives, obey your husbands, respect your husbands. Now, that's one verse. And then it takes 11 verses for God to tell men what they need to do to love their wives. One half of a verse to 11, because it's so important what men do. And basically, what does God tell them to do? Love their wives. How? Love their wives like Christ loves the church. Read those 11 verses. It's pretty strong, trying to get through a man's head how he is supposed to love his wife. And then it just comes down to the very end of that and says, okay, wives, you're to respect your husbands, and husbands are to love their wives. So, I'm just telling you that loving your wife may not come naturally. To figure out what is love to her, to figure out what turns her on, to figure out what it is that makes her feel wanted and appreciated. And that's why I brought my jawbreaker along. Have you ever eaten a jawbreaker? Probably not one this big, but when I was a kid, we had jawbreakers the size of our nickels. I don't know what your nickel looks like, but you probably don't even have a nickel. But anyway, we had jawbreakers that were small enough that you could get it in your mouth. I could no way get this, it's almost a baseball size of a jawbreaker in my mouth. But we did something crazy as kids when we were sucking on a jawbreaker. Piece of candy, sweet, hard candy. We did it with no other piece of candy in the world. But we would put it in our mouths, and we would lick it for a while, and we would wait for maybe about 5 minutes, maybe a little longer, and then we would take out that piece of candy and look at it. Now, you wouldn't do this with a Snickers candy bar. You wouldn't do this with a cherry chocolate. What are some of the other candies you have? I mean, I can't think of any other candy you would do this with, but you would do it with a jawbreaker. Now, why would you do it with a jawbreaker? Because it changes colors. And you can see on the inside of a jawbreaker, there are many, many rings. And as you lick off one layer, then it turns orange, then it turns green, then it turns yellow, then it turns pink, then it turns, whatever color the jawbreaker was made with. One of the most important things you can do in marriage is increase your spouse's sense of value, who they are. The way you treat your spouse will be the way your spouse feels about themselves. And it all has to do with the jawbreaker. So I'm going to explain some of these layers in the jawbreaker and share with you how you can better help another person feel valuable. Because you see, you will only achieve that level that you feel valuable enough to achieve. If you don't feel you can do it, if you don't feel you're valuable enough to even try, you won't try. So it's very important that we give each other, as well as our children, the feeling that they are absolutely, in your sight, top dollar, top value, okay? So the first layer of a jawbreaker, the middle of the jawbreaker, the core of who you are, is what I call self-image. How you think you look. That's why, as we're raising children, as we're getting married, it's so important to let the other person know that in your eyes, they are beautiful. They are handsome. They are amazing in terms of their looks, because our self-image is dependent upon what people say we are. A girl can be beautiful, just perfect, and someone calls them fatty or fatso or something like that, and they're ruined. And they go into all kinds of diseases, you know, to try to prove that they're skinnier than they should be. And it just ruins who they are in terms of their value. So self-image is extremely important. I like to say when a baby's born, the first thing you notice is how darling he is, how cute she is. And you let this baby know that they're perfect. And somebody else might say, oh my goodness, newborns never look good. But to the parents, they have to be perfect. You know, in their eyes, you need to say, you know, I love your ears, I love your eyes. They're just exactly the right color. I am so excited that you look the way you look. To me, you are absolutely beautiful. A mother of regular size and her husband had 2 dwarf babies. They were twins. The boys did very well in life. And on a television show, one of the boys had now passed away, and this 45-year-old dwarf man was asked, how did your parents help you feel good about yourself when you were obviously smaller than anybody else? How did they do that? Oh, said the man as he started smiling. My mom always told us that we were 2 shiny dimes in a world full of dull nickels. Now, if you don't know American money, you don't know what that means. But basically, dimes are smaller than nickels, and they are shinier. And Mom had told their boys every day of their life, hey, don't worry, you are the dime in the middle of a world of nickels. And he said, that did it for us. We knew we were absolutely special. We knew we looked great. We knew we were more valuable. We were like dimes than a bunch of nickels. And that's what you need to give each other, that they are absolutely special in terms of the way they look. So compliment each other. You can't, I don't think, if you're serious and if you're honest, I don't think you can compliment a woman too much. I think you can notice her skin, her hair, her weight, her teeth. You know, you can, well, just read the Song of Solomon if you need an idea about what you need to compliment in terms of how your wife looks. I'm not going to quote it here because this is probably on television, but you read it. It's amazing what the lover is telling the woman, the maiden, about in terms of how she looks. And boy, if you can be that creative, you men, I know, can be even more creative. But women need to hear that. And then help, especially your child, it's kind of, we're going back and forth here to get the kids in here too. Help your child feel good about the clothing that he's wearing. Help him feel good in the eyes of his peers. Now, in our country right now, I don't know how it is in Australia, but the big fad is to go to thrift shops and you find the jeans with the holes in the knees or the holes right here or wherever those holes are, and your kid comes out dressed with shirts that, are way, way too big for them and sloppy, and they think they are looking good to their peers. Sometimes you have to swallow and say, it's more important for this kid to look good in the eyes of his peers than to criticize him from parents' viewpoint about how he looks. So just remember, self-image is important. You want your kid to feel like he looks good. But help your child accept, and your wife or your husband accept, things which cannot be changed. And let that be an okay thing. You can't change the color of your eyes. You can't change, well, I guess you could wear contacts. Anyway, you get the idea. All right. Now, we're going to go to the second layer right over the self-image, and that's going to be self-esteem. Now, that's how you feel in relationship to others. So, I feel about who I am in terms of my self-esteem by your reaction to me. And if I go running across the parking lot saying, Sheree, wait for me, and Sheree just has her mind set on the next project she's doing and totally ignores me, how do I feel in Sheree's mirror that I see at that moment? I'm picking on you because I know you'd never do this. Anyway, I see in her mirror the reflection of me that I am no good. I am not worth waiting for. She doesn't care a thing about me, so I feel bad about myself. Now, if I go running after someone else and say, wait for me, I want to talk to you, and immediately I turn around and say, okay, it's so nice that you are here. I can't believe you're here. Wow, let me give you a hug. Suddenly, I see in that other person's mirror that I'm an okay person. So our self-esteem is constantly up or down depending upon who we interface with. You don't know what your husband or your wife has had to deal with during the day, but he or she needs to know that in your mirror, he or she is something else. He is perfect because of the way you greet each other, because you're reflecting such a positive image of the other. Children go to school. You don't know what those kids are going to meet at school. That's why I say you pump them up, send them out at the top of the roller coaster, because you never know what pits they're going to hit during the day. But hopefully you give them enough emotional courage, emotional oomph to get through the day and get back home and get pumped up again. That's what helps a person feel good about who they are. That's what I call self-esteem. Self-confidence, that's the next layer in the jawbreaker, self-confidence. Now, self-confidence comes when you're willing to step out and try something new, learn new skills and new abilities. You never know when God can use those. I remember when I was a kid, I played the clarinet, but everybody else in Boulder, Colorado played the clarinet. I think there were 42 clarinet players in the band. And of course, I was like number 42. I mean, I was not a good clarinet player. I mean, have any of you ever played a clarinet? Oh my goodness, it's hard to keep them from squeaking Wouldn't you say that? Yeah. Here you're playing along and you think you've got it. Squeak! Oh, no. And everybody looks over. Who did that, you know? And man, it sure didn't make me feel very good to be a clarinet player. One day, I was cleaning out the closet, the attic actually, of our house with my dad. And we came across his great big old E-flat tuba. Now, you may not have ever seen an E-flat tuba. They don't make them anymore. But it's like a huge baritone. So it's this huge, it's not a sousaphone that you have to put over yourself, but it's a huge, like a baritone. And it was kind of bent up a little bit. It had been through the war with Daddy, not the war, but through life with my dad. And I said, Dad, how do you play a scale on this? And he showed me how to play a scale. I said, that's easy. A clarinet has 9,000 keys and combinations you got to put together. And this only has 3 valves that you have to put down. Wow, that's easy. And I quickly did a scale, and then I said, then how do you do an pa-pa? That's all I could think of. That's what tubas do, pa-pa, pa-pa. And he said, well, you just lip it, and it goes down to the next level. I tell you, this was so easy. Up and down the scale with just 3 little things, and then pa-pa, pa-pa. Well, within a week, I had the whole thing mastered, and I took it off to school and immediately became first tuba, first chair. I was the only tuba player in the band. But that did so much for me. You know, I was a nobody down in the clarinet section. Suddenly, everybody looked at me, a girl playing a tuba, and it was immediate recognition. My feelings of self-confidence, who I was, what I could accomplish, immediately went through the roof. It was the best thing I ever did for feeling that, wow, I could accomplish amazing things like learning how to play a tuba. And that's what we need to give our children. The more skills and abilities that they learn, whether it's in the techie area or whether it's in a musical instrument, whether it's learning to speak, whether it's just coming up and having prayer in church, every skill and ability that they're willing to try and find out that they can do, it's like God can use it sometime in the future. And it makes you feel that you're more confident that God can use you for something special. So we need to give this to each other. And I've told you the stories about what my husband has done in terms of helping me feel confident, saying, yes, she can do it, she's good, whatever. Okay, I want to do, so we do need to, in terms of marriage, open doors of possibility, like Jan did to me. But I want to go on to the next layer that is so important. The next layer is what I call self-respect. And this is actually something you do for yourself. Just do what you know you ought to do, and you will feel good about yourself. I was shopping at Kmart, actually, when we had Kmarts on the mainland. We don't have any more. You took them all, I think, to Australia. But anyway, I was shopping at Kmart, and I had shopped there so long, I knew exactly where everything was, and it was kind of like my store. So I went through and got a little package of seeds, 39-cent package of seeds. I put it in the trolley. And we do actually have shopping carts in our country, but they look very much like your trolleys. And I put it in the trolley, and then I found some plants in big gallon, you don't even have gallons, big containers, and I put those containers into the shopping cart, And without thinking, I put it on top of that package of seeds. When I got to the checkout stand, I wasn't paying much attention. I whipped out my credit card and paid for everything, and didn't realize that I hadn't paid for that 39-cent package of seeds until I got to my car in the car park. Of course, we don't have car parks. We have parking lots. But in the car park, and then realized that that package of seeds was under those containers. I bet they didn't charge me for it. Immediately, I took out the receipt, and sure enough, there was no 39 cents for those seeds. And I began to talk to myself in a crazy way. 39 cents. I don't have time to take this back to there. I'm late picking up my children, and besides, I have shopped so much at Kmart. They owe me this 39-cent package of seeds. I should be part owner by now. In fact, I've spent so much money here. And I got this thing on blue light special, and they didn't have a receipt when I took it back, and I got half of the price of the blue light special. They gypped me. They should have given me the whole thing back, but they didn't. They owe me 39 cents. And then I said, Kay, you're crazy. You're going to harm your sense of who you are, your value, because of a 39-cent package of seeds? Take it back. I took a deep breath, turned around, ran toward the checkout stand, and then there was a line, and I didn't want to wait because the kids were waiting at school, so I kind of squeezed in and said, I just have to do one thing. I have to pay 39 cents for this package of seeds. And so everybody was kind of watching me buck line. Do you say buck line? What do you say here? What do you say? Well, whatever you say. I couldn't. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, I did it and told the clerk, I am so sorry, but you forgot to charge me for this 39-cent package of seeds. So if I could just get in line real quickly and give you 39 cents, I'd like to do that. And the woman behind me said, wow, what honesty in this day and age. And then somebody in the back of the line said something about, I can't believe she came all the way back for a 39-cent package of seeds. Folks, I left Kmart with my 39-cent package of seeds feeling that I was a millionaire. You know, I felt so good about myself. That's what self-respect is all about. When you do what you know you ought to do, you build your sense of your own personal value. But there's one more thing I want to talk about. Then I'll let you go. One more thing. And that is the final coating over everything. And that is something that can never be changed. It's something that we all have, no matter who we were born to, how much we've earned in life, what kind of jobs we have. It's there, and it's God's value of us. And when we realize that, and when we encourage each other that we are of utmost value because of what God has done for us, it changes everything. The price paid for our redemption, says Ellen G. White in Steps to Christ. The price paid for our redemption, the infinite sacrifice of our Heavenly Father in giving His Son to die for us, should give us ho-hum conceptions of what we might become? No! It says should give us exalted conceptions of what we may become through Christ. It can never be changed. The gift has already been given. Our salvation is absolutely secure. All we have to do is take that gift, make it a part of us, and we will feel like millionaires. It reminds me of Danny Shelton. He was flying over the U.S., and he was sitting next to somebody who was pointing out the window and saying, "See that over there? My father owns that section of land. Oh, look over there. My uncle, or my father," maybe he kept saying father, "owns that section of land." And Danny said, "Oh, that's really impressive. That's really impressive." Danny waited for a few moments and then said, Oh, now you see out this window? Everything you can see out this window? My father owns that." And the guy looked at him and said, "You're kidding. Who are you anyway?" And he said, "Oh, I'm a child of God. My heavenly Father owns all of that." And we need to feel that way about who we are. You know, we are God's kid. In fact, we are valuable because we are God's kid. I want to tell you a story to end. And maybe it's a story that you have actually seen on film. It's called Johnny Lingo. It was done years and years ago. Nobody has seen Johnny Lingo? It was done in the South Sea Islands, so no? Okay, good. This is such a good story. But the story is about Johnny Lingo, who is this hunk of incredible masculinity. I mean, he is good looking. Tall, strong, muscular, and you see him coming in to land in his canoe, and everybody admires this man. I mean, he is really something else. He's such a shrewd trader. I mean, he's got money. He trades all over this section, and hey, did you hear? He's coming to buy himself a wife. No way, the girls say. Wow. And everybody is interested because they would like to marry Johnny Lingo. Then word spreads that Johnny wants to marry Mahana. Mahana, says the people of the village, Mahana, she's nothing. She's not worth anything. Her dad says that she has a head full of straw instead of brains. And she is so shy, she won't even come out from behind that tree. And then you see her kind of scoot back, and so nobody will see her. And she wears rags. I mean, she is nothing. Why would Johnny ever want to marry Mahana? Oh, says some of the people on the island, because he's such a shrewd trader. He knows he can get her for nothing. So, word spreads about the day that Johnny Lingo is going to sit opposite to old Moki, Mahana's dad, to determine the lowest possible price that Mahana is worth. Everybody is anticipating what's going to happen. I mean, she's not worth anything. She's not even worth the hoofs and a tail, let alone the rest of the cow. I mean, how could he want to marry Mahana? And then they began whispering among them, well, he wants to marry Mahana because he knows he can get her for nothing. The bargaining begins. And Johnny asks, what price, how many cows do you want for Mahana? Oh, says Moki, And he thinks for a moment, and then he says, I will take 3 cows for Mahana. The villagers erupt in laughter. 3 cows? This is crazy. I mean, she is not worth the hoof or the tail, and let alone he wants 3 cows? Crazy. But Johnny stills the laughter. And he says 3 cows is a lot to ask for Mahana. But actually, it's not enough for my Mahana. Oh, he says 3 cows is a lot to ask for a wife, okay? But it's not enough for my Mahana. She's worth far more than that. So I will give 8 cows for Mahana. 8 cows. Moki's jaw nearly falls off. 8 cows. He can't believe it. And now the villagers say, whisper among themselves, he wants people to know that he is such a good trader, that he has spent more money on a wife than ever anybody has spent before. He's just conceited. Well, the wedding comes, 8 cows are traded for Mahana, and they leave for an extended honeymoon. But before they leave, Johnny has gone to the storekeeper there and ordered a present for Mahana, so when they return, it will be there waiting for them. Months and months go by, and finally, they see old Johnny Lingo's canoe coming with Mahana there into the village, and they go down to their little grass hut. And then the storekeeper decides to bring the gift, a beautiful mirror for Mahana, decides to bring the gift down to Johnny's hut. Johnny comes out, talks to the storekeeper for a few moments, and then says, oh, by the way, would you like to say hello to Mahana? And the storekeeper kind of shrugs his shoulders and says, okay. I mean, he knows who Mahana is. Mahana is not worth anything. I mean, she's ugly, and she doesn't have brains, and the word goes around, but he said, yes. Now you gotta picture this film. I hope the cameras do this for me someday, because out through this beautiful curtain comes this most gorgeous woman, dressed in a red dress, her hair with a red hibiscus in it. She is amazing. The storekeeper can't believe it. And Mahana comes out, speaks kindly to the storekeeper, and then she explains after a few minutes that she needs to go get water, and she leaves her husband and the storekeeper together. And Johnny says, after she goes, well, what do you think? Do you think I paid too much for Mahana? Oh, no, the storekeeper said. She is worth much more, much, much more than 8 cows. Well, said Johnny, the beauty of a woman is what she sees her value is in the eyes of her husband. And now Mahana knows that she is more valuable than any other wife on the island. And I just want to tell you that the beauty of your spouse, the value that your spouse feels, is dependent upon what you give for her or him, the sacrifices you make. And aren't you glad that your Father in heaven didn't give cows for us. He gave his only begotten Son for us. Oh, how valuable we are. And we want to make sure that the couple and their children, grandchildren, grandparents, great-grandparents, that family has a sense of value based upon what they see in each other and the sacrifices that they make for each other. That is what a strong, healthy family is all about. Thank you for the privilege of sharing, and God bless you in the years to come.